Welcome to another Transformational Tuesday, where all month of March we're focusing on March Madness as the theme. Not just in the sense of college, but in the sense of our life. We're trying to remove the madness, get organization, and ultimately win the title. So for 2019, we're trying to go to the championship in our lives. And the way we're going to do that is continue to highlight how to build a team, call plays, and effectively take action to change your life and the life of those around you. So let's recap. Last week on Transformational Tuesday, we talked about identifying your team members. Understand that in identifying your team members or your support system, that'll help you effectively get ready to put people in a position to make the necessary plays to win the championship. Then on Thursday Night Live, we went one step further where we discussed how to put people in place based on your plan. See, it is your plan that will identify what players you need. I don't know any basketball teams hiring a kicker for their team because the goal isn't to make a field goal. The goal is to make the basket or the ball in the hoop. So when you think about that in your life. How can you get rid of the madness by putting people in the proper positions so that when you call the plays, you have the right people in position to execute the plays? So identifying your goal before you build your team is very, very, very critical. Now today I want to talk to you about developing an action plan, calling plays, right? So last week again we talked about on Transformational Tuesday, we talked about identifying team members, right? So you want to identify your team, right? And then we talked about before you build your team, right? Before you build your team, what is your goal? What's the goal? Right? So before I move in any direction to build a team, I got to know who's on my team based on my goal, not based on somebody being available. Because again, if we look at the situation of basketball, we don't want a kicker on our team if our goal isn't to kick the ball. We want somebody that can shoot. We want a Steph Curry that can make a three. We want somebody like LeBron that can drive to the hole. We don't want the kicker who can hit a field goal. He does me no good on the hardwood. So what's the goal? Now today we're going to talk about a plan. I'm going to write this big because so many of us go through life chasing dreams without a plan. You're not going to tell me that these teams that are playing in March Madness, going for the NCAA championship, don't have a plan. The coaches have a plan. The players have a plan. The staff has a plan. Everyone has a plan. And that's okay that everyone has a plan. But the question is let's say that's the base of the plan, right? That's the base of the plan. That's right. And then you add the next level of the plan, the next level of the plan, the next level of the plan, the next level of the plan. And the goal is to get everybody's plan to align so they can win the championship. So my question to you is, what's your plan? Don't worry. We're going to talk about the plan, right? We got our goal. Last week our goal was talking about being debt-free. So let's talk about being debt-free. Sticking with debt-free as the goal, right? If that's the goal, what's the plan to get there, right? So let's say spend less than we make, right? We want to spend less than we make. What else do we want to do? We want to invest maybe, right? But before we invest, what is something we should do? An emergency fund. Anybody who follows any financial people, they always tell you have an emergency fund, right? The emergency fund. You got to be able to have an emergency fund for when emergencies happen. Too often we rely on credit as our emergency fund, and that's not the emergency fund. So let's think about that. The goal is to get debt free. Now we're building our plan out. You got to build your plan out, right? So you can call the necessary plays. What's the next thing, right? Do you need 12 pairs of Jordans? Nope. So we could reduce reduce our spending, right? Reduce our spend. Reduce what we're spending on. Here we are. We're laying our plan out. Don't you dare come up with a goal and not develop a plan. Now, this is high level, right? You may want to get a. I would recommend this, especially if you're not good in this area. Get a financial advisor, right? Financial advisor. Get somebody to give you some advice. Financial advisor who can advise you on the decisions you're making, right? And what else? I don't care what you do, you got to execute. You've got to execute that plan. No plan is good without execution. Let me tell you something. If you're not writing your plan, it says for the Christians in the room, it's biblical. It says write the vision, make your plan, right? What is your plan? Let me tell you, my son, I had talked to him about getting better in basketball, and I said, write out the plays. Run through the plays. Know what each person on the team is supposed to do. That's the plan. The play is the plan, right? Write the plays. Know what each person on the team is supposed to do. We identified last week how to identify your team members based on your plan. So if you're married or you're dating and you got a relationship and y'all goal is to get there free, your spouse, what is her role? Is her role to help execute, or his role, or whose role is to make sure that there's an emergency fund available for if the family comes into an emergency, right? If it's your business partner because you're looking to start a business, it's the same thing. And then once it's written, run through the plays. My son has run through these plays. This was in his room, literally right before I recorded. I was in his room looking for something, and I came across this. He's still doing it to this day. He started this last season where he's running the plays. One step further, when he first started playing basketball, something he said to me was, Dad, I need you to record me so I can see where I'm making my mistakes. If we don't have a plan, and let's just say we didn't write our plan out, and let's say the emergency fund was to be $1,000, and we don't have that $1,000, let's say we only got $500, and we start moving into investing, right? Because you want to invest after you do some of these other steps. So invest. I know it looks sloppy. You're not going to invest until you get your emergency fund. Now, this is just an example. What your emergency fund is going to be based off of your financial situation and what 3 to 6 months of your bills would be. But you've got to have something written, and you need to see it regularly. Just like he's calling those plays and he's asking to be recorded so he can go back and look at his mistakes, we've got to record weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. We got to record where we're putting out our revenue, because revenue is what we bring in, right? We got to record that. That's why we struggle to be financially free, is because we're not tracking where we're spending our money. Same thing in the Marriage Madness. If the coach isn't tracking which plays work, then he's going to keep calling the same bad play. And if the coach isn't a good leader who can listen to the athletes on the floor, then he's going to continue to make the same mistakes that's going to cause that team to what? Not make it to the finals and not ultimately win the goal. The goal, which our goal here, we say is debt-free. Their goal is to win the NCAA championship. So players on the floor will see things from a different perspective based on the position they're in versus the coach on the sideline. So when I come back, or a player comes back and say, hey, coach, I noticed that our emergency fund isn't working the way we thought it should. You know what? I see that if we do things a little differently, right, with our spend less, if we do things a little differently, instead of trying to get to 1,000, coach, we'll have $1,500. We just got to tweak things here. You get what I'm saying? So that's what good leadership is. That's what good coaching is. So the plan, we've identified the goal, and here are different steps of the plan, right? So I'm going to give you another example. I'm hoping this helps someone, right? So your plan is to buy a house. You want to buy a home. No, we won't even go home. We'll keep it a little simpler. Your plan is to buy a car, right? You want to buy a car. Car, truck, whatever you want. Boom. Let's say that car or truck is $50,000. What's your plan to buy it? All right. So we've got our goal, right? It's to come up with $50,000 to buy this car. Now, erase the debt free for just a moment, because we're talking about plan. What's the plan to get the $50,000? So some will say, well, I'm going to put $3,000 down, right? And the bank is going to finance me. So you're going to have bank financing, right? So we'll put the bank fine. And those payments will be, and I'm just rough numbers, I don't know. Those payments for that $50,000 or $47,000 we're financing will be $680 a month. That's great. Now, how much is insurance? Oh, your insurance, let's just say hypothetically, is another $100 a month. Now you've got $780 a month that's going to come away from your expenses. In this plan, what did you talk about your finances? You didn't. If the goal was to get the $50,000 truck, and let's say you make $100,000 a year, now you break that down to see. Let's say your take-home pay is $3,000 a month. Subtract that $780 from that $3,000. What do you get? Right? You got to have a plan. Too many times we go to a dealership and Jimmy and Joe Blow, the sales guy, tells us, oh, you can afford it. And they'll max you out over here. What is your plan? Know what your plan is, and I assure you that you will be able to win in all areas of your life. And then go one step further. When we talk about positioning people on the team from last week, when you go to buy that car or truck, is that salesperson someone you can trust?